Hey, this episode is about potatoes, how we grow them on Millsap Farm. Check it out. Good morning from Millsap Farm. Hey, this is the beginning of a series of videos, we hope to be a bunch of videos, about how we do things here on Millsap Farm. We're going to cover all sorts of different topics, soil, seeding, different planting techniques and harvesting techniques. What we hope is that this is useful both to other commercial growers, small-scale farmers like ourselves, and also to gardeners that want to know a little more about how to do mulch gardening and tillage gardening, anything in between, really. We do kind of a variety of things. So this morning I'm out here to talk a little about the potatoes. Behind me you'll see the potato field. We've got about 8 rows of potatoes going in this year. That's 8 beds actually, 100-foot long beds, 3 foot wide, and we've got 2 rows in each bed. We started this process yesterday. Well, I should say we probably started this process years ago when we started building up this soil. So this is a low-lying place on the farm. It's a bit rocky. There's really not a lot of good soil, native soil under there. And this was originally the no-till field. That meant we built up beds lasagna style with rabbit manure and leaves and straw. And it worked really well. It was one of those things we did in one wet spring to get into the field before we could till or do any sort of soil working. And it grew great peppers, great tomatoes, pretty good celery. We never had a lot of luck with the squash or cucurbits. They didn't like that cooler, wetter soil as much as the other crops. But anyway, we've been building soil for years. The problem with the perennial no-till system like that is eventually you tend to get perennial weeds. And in this case, what came in was Bermuda, which is a big hassle for us around here. So the Bermuda was a problem, and one of the solutions to perennial weeds is tarping, and another one is mulching. With tillage especially. So what we've done out here, we've tarped some. We never got really good control of the Bermuda with tarping. And we can talk later about other ways we do weed control and so on. But the point was, eventually we said this is not really working. We're just losing ground and we're losing production space. We either need to give up this space or we need to renovate it severely and kind of restart it. And so last year we decided to renovate it severely, and we spread easily 50 yards, probably more like a couple hundred yards of wood chips on this plot. This is a quarter-acre plot. And as we did that, it's actually less than a quarter acre. It's about 1/8 of an acre plot. Anyway, as we did that, our goal was to build up organic matter in such a way that we could do tillage kind of with a free pass. Usually when you're tilling, you're burning up a lot of organic matter. And our strategy here has been that if we added a ton of organic matter beforehand, and tons of organic matter, then we could sort of till and eliminate the Bermuda without really paying the price of eliminating the organic matter. And also because we're tilling in that top layer of mulch, less of a toll being taken on the worms and the other microbiome in the soil. So that's what we've been doing for the last year, really year and a half almost, I guess. And we've also added things like cocoa hulls. We've added spent grain. We've added kind of anything that comes to the farm in terms of organic matter. We've added some of that to this. Kind of done a big sheet composting project, and then with occasional tillage. So we use our tractor-mounted PTO tiller and till the whole thing fairly shallowly. So that's how this all got started. And then this spring we decided it was time to give it a shot, see what we could get out of it. And so we've put potatoes into some of these beds. Some of them I'm still planting. And you can see in the time-lapse video that we did some tractor work on it yesterday to raise the beds up. I'm now going through and digging a trench with the tractor, dropping potato pieces, digging another trench side by side with that, dropping potato pieces in that, and then reshaping the beds. In hindsight, I probably didn't need to shape the beds in the first place. Probably just should have gone with the trenching and then shaped the beds over the top of them, but live and learn. We've also amended with flaxseed meal, which is kind of a weird product. We ended up with a bunch of flaxseed meal. They're rejects from a local food manufacturer. Fairly high nitrogen seed meal, and so that's why we're using, that's what you'll see me spreading in this time-lapse video as well. And then what I'm doing right now is just walking down the rows and dropping seed pieces. So we've opened up these furrows and we're setting the potatoes in here. And I wanted to say a couple words about the soil. I mentioned that this has been heavy mulch for a couple of years now. We had the cocoa hulls, which is part of the darkness. Part of it's just that it's decomposing, and so we got this really beautiful dark soil here. It's really nice stuff. And then underneath that, you can see we got a pretty heavy clay soil. And there's some old dead plant roots in that. I'm hoping they're all old and dead. They appear to be that way. And it's not a bad soil, it's just pretty heavy clay. So what we're doing essentially is setting the seed pieces on top of the clay, and then we're covering over with the heavy mulch. One of the things we like about potatoes is they're a great weeding crop, meaning they're fairly easy to keep weed free because we plant them so early they get out ahead of the summer weeds, and then we're going to dig them in time to kill most of the summer weeds off. Anything does sprout up. And then because we mulch them so heavy, we don't have a big problem with spring weeds as well, like chickweed and henbit and those sorts of things. We disrupt them all this time of year, and then the mulch keeps them down. So that was one thing I wanted to share. And another thing is planting dates. You know, people traditionally will plant Irish potatoes around St. Patrick's Day, which is a great way to remember it. And we like aiming for that. But what we've noticed too is if we plant them when it's cold and wet, we're really not benefiting anything much. So we usually wait for the weather to shift a little bit and our soils to start to warm. Even today, it's 80 degrees out here, but the clay is still really cold down in there. So, you know, those potatoes are basically going back into a refrigerator, so they're not going to grow real fast. We're hoping for some continuing nice warm weather and sunshine to get the soils warmed up. But anyway, that's what we're aiming for. And so the date is a fluid thing. I know people up north don't plant potatoes nearly as early as we do, and if you're down south, you can plant potatoes in January. So it really depends. We're here in Missouri, southwest Missouri, zone 6. You know, we're starting to get 70 and 80 degree days now. This is a good time to get these taters in. We have planted them earlier in the past when we were doing them on raised beds with plastic mulch, and that worked really well. But we've gotten away from using the plastic mulch. It requires a whole lot of tillage that we're trying to avoid doing, and then of course the plastic and that kind of stuff as well. So this is a little different approach with the wood chip mulch. Also pretty effective, but it doesn't allow us the earliness that the black plastic did. So it's all compromises. But anyway, this is what we're doing. So this is all kind of part of the process of potato growing on the farm. These potatoes will be in the ground for about 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, and then we'll harvest them usually around the end of May, beginning of June is when we start harvesting baby potatoes. And we're really going for what we would consider a baby potato. So nothing much bigger than, like if we get tennis ball size, we're feeling like those are pretty big potatoes. So we're not really going for much bigger than that. And I'm planting Red Norlands. I really like Red Norlands. They're a beautiful potato. They're delicious. They're high yielding, fairly early. We've messed around with Dakota Pearls. Years ago, we tried to grow Yukon Golds. Never had satisfaction with those. I love eating them, hate raising them. We never could get good yields out of them. So we're planting Norland Red Norlands today, and I thought I'd show you how we cut them up. So when we get these, they're pretty good sized potatoes. You know, that's about 1/4 of one. So they're pretty good sized taters. And then what we do is we leave them in the bags in our house, in a sunny location, somewhere kind of warm and sunny, like we've got an addition that has a lot of windows, and so plenty of light even through the bags, and it's warmer. It's about 60 or 70 degrees in there. And what's that it's called is chitting or greening the potatoes. And so if you look here, you can see lots of little shoots starting off on them, and that's what we're after. The idea is to get the potatoes started, and what you're doing is two things. One, you're kind of breaking dormancy, because potatoes have been stored cold, and that keeps them dormant, keeps them from growing. And so by putting them in the warm, we're breaking dormancy, and then we're actually encouraging them also to break what's called apical dominance. And so what that means is if you stick it in the ground cold, odds are you're going to get each potato is going to send off one shoot. If you let them warm up in bulk and you let them get a little bit light on all sides like they're doing, then they send out multiple shoots. And the idea is that then you get a bigger potato plant, because you know each of these shoots is going to grow a potato plant, and it'll be each of those plants is capable of making a certain number of taters. So anyway, so that's what we do. We cut them up and chit them. C-H-I-T is what they call it, or sometimes you hear people talking about greening them. But it's an important part of the process. And the other part is, we should mention, you don't want them to get too big and sprouty because those will break off real easy. So this is just about right. We want them to be big enough that you can find them easily and that they're really started well. They even got a few little root stubs trying to come off of there, and little leaves, of course. And now they'll grow up through the soil. And I'll look forward to more videos in the future of what's going on the farm and how we're making it happen out here. Thanks for watching.